Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the channel. Do hit like and subscribe. Right, big news coming out of Sheffield Wednesday. They have, I'm sure you all know by now, they have gone into administration. And it's, in my opinion, it's not a good thing on the one hand because they lose 12 points and they'll have a transfer embargo. However, in the long term, I do think it is the best possible thing that they could have hoped for, considering the condition of the club and where they are. The hapless owner, hapless is putting it mildly, the hapless owner, Defjon Chansiri, has finally left due to this administration. They were faced with a winding up order from HMRC because they owed over £1 million in unpaid taxation. So basically, every sale that they get into the club, the tax on the sale, say someone paid £70 for a shirt, I know people were boycotting that, but if someone paid £70 for a shirt, 20% VAT, they were just keeping that instead of passing it on to HMRC. So they owe £1 million in unpaid tax, so they've been put into administration. Chansiri has gone. He has gone. So I think even though they're in administration, they more than likely will be relegated. They've had a 12-point deduction. I think for the long-term security of the club, this is the best possible thing that could have happened, because Chansiri was not for leaving. He was not for leaving under any circumstances, and the circumstances have got very, very, very dire. And this was completely the end of the road. I think we all knew that it would end like this, but Chansiri has been, let's just say, he's not been the best owner of the club. Let's just put it that way. I think we'll just leave it at that, because everybody knows the kind of things that he was doing or not doing. To that club, a great institution that has been brought to its knees in the last few years. But he has gone, and one of the most pleasing things for me was to see that some of the fans were removing the seats with Chansiri's name on them in the stand that you see on TV, where the camera angle comes from. He had Chansiri written across, like they do in football stadiums, with the white seats, and they were being removed yesterday. And on the news this morning, it did say that this event was being broadcast on live stream on YouTube, and it was getting 100,000 viewers. So that, that shows the relief of people from Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday is a massive, massive club. It's got a 40,000 seater stadium. My issue is that the club don't own the stadium, so whoever comes into the club will have to, in my opinion, they would have to remedy that, because the club's worth very little unless you've got the stadium as well, and every fan needs to have that ownership of the stadium as well. So that's one thing that I would be looking for from the administrators to try and sort out. But the administrators try their best to tidy up the finances of the club, making sure people are paid, cutting ties where they need to, arranging deals with creditors. When Wigan went into administration, they managed to cut a deal where they paid a quarter of their bills, and that enabled them, I think, not to get a points deduction. Well, they've already had a points deduction, so probably can't do that. But yeah, I think everybody in football broadly is just glad to see the back of Chansiri, just because he's brought such a great institution to its knees through underinvestment. They didn't even get the safety certificate for the Chansiri stand. Probably shouldn't call it that, but the stand with his name on. They didn't even get the safety certificate. And what has been good to see, in my opinion, is that the fans have kind of forced this administration through boycotting the shop, boycotting the ground. But I've just saw Barry Bannon on TV earlier on, and he was saying that the club really need the fans to be back in the ground now, and really need them to be buying the shirts. Just hoping that whoever they sell the club to, has got deep pockets because the club does need investment. They won't be able to invest on the playing staff just yet, but the ground needs some investment, let's put it mildly. They need to get that sorted to get a feel-good factor about the club again, because they've been on a downward slide for a few years, really. So yeah, it's in my opinion, long-term good news for Sheffield Wednesday, even though they've been hit with a 12 point deduction. It is good news because their owner has gone, and that is what the fans have wanted for several years, because he's underinvested, he's underperformed, and you know, I think the fans are just glad to see the back of him, let's just put it that way. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll bring you any more news on this story about potential owners. But a good source of football financial information is the podcast, The Price of Football, and that is hosted by Kevin Day and Kieran Maguire. Really good podcast that really focuses on the finances in football. So that's The Price of Football. It's a very good podcast. All right, thanks very much for watching.